V is quite obviously based on her TV, and her full name is V version 1. Her stats are as shown. Don't know why I started there. And what else is there about V? Anyway, now there's actually a way that she's like completely different from other Twisteds, like that you'd not expect other Twisteds to not really have. But we're gonna go over that later, and first we're gonna start with her appearance. So first of all, I want to point out how, as a toon, she's actually packed with wires, because you can see where she's been like split in half by the Ica. You can see all these like Ica wires, and obviously her antenna that grow, which kind of like wires, close enough, right? Now, kind of like Twisted Pebble, something that I noticed, is she doesn't just have the wires that extend, but she also has like loads of like added metal bits, just like on her legs and her neck, which kind of wouldn't fit into her toon body at all. So this is kind of why I think it wasn't just completely the Ica's, the Ica that did it. And Dandy also played his own part in adding some extra parts. Another thing I want to point out is how like she has really twitchy kind of arms and a head. And I think this is for two reasons combined. So, first of all, Ica is obviously a liquid, so too much of it would kind of make her short circuit, but also keep her alive because of what Ica actually is. And second of all, because she's so unstable from like having extra bits added and being torn apart and stuff, you know, but why wouldn't it like be like that, you know? So in her Twisted description, it actually says that she has eyes everywhere. And I think this is to do with her having access to all the computers and machines, and this is why. So as a toon, she obviously has her V-Remote trinket, which is, it automatically completes the first machine on each floor that you do. And obviously that's linked with V, it's her remote. So that means V could also herself be linked with machines. And I think this is what it means. When you fail a skill check, she can kind of hear that from pretty much anywhere. Because she kind of hijacks the machines. And this is also backed up by her random like red radar things in her eyes, which are obviously glowing red. So it's kind of the same colour as incomplete machines. Another small thing is her bow tie, which is kind of part of my clothes theory of Ica slightly, or in Bovette's case, extremely expanding clothes. Well, and Asra's hat, but and it doesn't really look like it in comparison to her head, but then you realise her head obviously is a lot bigger, and then you realise how much her bow tie has grown in comparison to it. Now, the thing I talked about at the start, about what she has that the other Twisters surprisingly don't, like really have, is her face. You can tell that she actually has like real anger.
GRR, I'm angry. Television.
Pay attention to their faces, actually have, but she's like proper peed off at Dandy for everything, and yet still hostile because she has to be. Now the final kind of huge thing is the ads, which have there's two like really complex, well not really, but like kind of complex options to how they actually work, and I'm just going to go over them. So the first one is that they appear in real life around the toon, just like Screech does indoors, where only you can see them, but we still know that, like from some other areas, that they are actually there for everyone. It's just like you can't really see them, but like realistically they are physically there, if you know what I mean. And this is kind of backed up by Dandy's World being in first person, and then they're still on your screen, which isn't actually on the toon's like vision, it's like around it technically. But then that doesn't explain how they still like appear on the camera like forward, because then the toon won't be able to read them. Which is kind of like this theory's flaw, which is why the other one kind of makes more sense, and also because of like other things like in the game, which I'm also going to obviously discuss. The second one is that Toons, just like V, is extremely robotic. Obviously, it's like a whole thing. If she wasn't, then it should be completely different. But it's that all the Toons are slightly robotic, like in their minds. And I think this, because I think that despite the game being in third person, it still makes more sense. Using like using kind of the same things that I said in the first of the two options for this. That it's actually on their vision, and they kind of like pop them with their mind, you know, because like if V can connect to machines, then it makes sense that if the Toons are robotic, then she'd be able to connect to them as well, because it's kind of anything in that range. And you might be wondering, where does that originally come from? You can't just say because they're robotic but then not have the evidence. Well, their answer is in eject buttons. Eject buttons are literal buttons that are obviously like mechanical and stuff, but they give you a massive speed boost, and like, you know, eject button-y stuff. But the only way that they could work is if they were kind of like their own remotes or controls in a way. And if the Toons are kind of robotic, because how else would they be able to connect to them? And this is also this whole thing is also kind of proven by when she sees you, you get slowed, which is only makes sense with that theory. I've actually managed to stretch this one to nearly 7 minutes, purely because of the ad, so it's time to end it. Bye.